Hello, my fellow Pokken do-gooders. I almost said go-dooders. We are back with another Pokken video. Caskin, please stay on my shoulder, please. This time we are going to talk about a support in this game that exists, that people probably forget exists. So, Pokken support's all pretty good, except for this one. So, yes, I want to talk about the QuagMag duo of Magneton and Quagsire. Good reason I want to talk about this, because I feel like most people don't actually know what they do a lot of the time. Which is funny, because there's a few quirks, at least for some of them, that I mention occasionally to other people sometimes. And then they're surprised, like, oh, really, I didn't know that. So I just kind of want to make a video of, like, both talking about their uses and why they aren't really used. So first off, I want to talk about what Magneton and Quagsire can do. They can do, or well, their attributes, I guess is more like it. So Magneton on startup gives you counter armor, frame 1, and shoots a giant beam forward. I think it's frame 26 when it comes out, or 23, I think. Yeah, frame 23 sounds about right. So it's frame 23 when it comes out. And you would think, oh, okay, that's weird, but this doesn't hit on the ground, only in the air. So as you can see right here, as this owl is going to jump into place, that's how it's supposed to be intended. But problem is, actually, wait, no, I guess I won't talk about, nah, screw it. This is a very big problem, and you guys can probably even guess. As you can see, it's a frame 23, and so that means you have to, like, react, like, super on point. And that is tough in the middle of a match, especially if you're playing online, but just in general, like, playing a real match. Because you could do stuff like this, where you're like, oh, right to the jump. Okay, do it. Oh, cool. He like whiffed. It hit him because he jumped again. But you know what I mean. Like, it's just kind of slow, kind of sucky when it comes to that. On the bright side, its debuffs are actually not that bad. In Duel Phase, it gives an attack down and synergy down. And synergy down is basically an attack and defense down if they're only in synergy burst. Now, why did I say in Duel Phase? Well, funnily enough, not many people know about this. In Field Phase, it gives a different debuff for one of them. It still gives a synergy down, but in Field Phase, it gives a speed down. So, yeah, it makes them a lot slower, which is honestly really cool, in my opinion. But it's just like, you're even less likely to land this move in Field Phase, just because there's, like, less jumping than in, like, the 2D phase, where you're like, oh, I gotta go move around. Like, I feel like, yeah, especially in this, like, yeah, that's just so awkward, because it's like a thin beam like that. So it has good debuffs. It has good debuffs, but like just because you're strong, powerful, it does 104 damage, so that's good, strong, yes. But it's not easy to land, and obviously you're able to punish if they do land. Like, oh, okay, cool, I just get a free punish. Another thing about this move that not many people know about is that on counter hit. Oh wow, oh my god. I ducked my head so far down that it just like avoided the JY from I'm going to have. Why is it whenever I want to be like, okay, here's this, and then immediately I fail? But okay, sorry, let me try that again. Will that work? Oh my goodness gracious, one sec. Will it work this time? This is basically a gamble. Oh my. There we go. That's what happens. It actually gets powered up. It gets bigger. It still doesn't hit on the ground, though. That is the sucky part about it. If it did hit on the ground, I could see the support being very useful. It also pierces, I think, when enhanced. I don't think it doesn't normally. I may be wrong on that, but that's not really something that matters much, because, like, when are you going to hit this? When are you going to pierce someone with this? Unless it's, like, Shadow Mewtwo's, like, Reflect or whatever. So, yeah, it does get enhanced. I don't know if the buffs get longer, but it's bigger and obviously more damage as well. All those problems aside, though, it's very, very hard to hit all around. That's the main draw of it. That's terrible for it. Main draw is terrible. I'm stupid. But yes, it's a terrible thing about this move is that you can never land it. It's super slow. It is frame 6 when you do hit it. So it's like basically instant. But yeah, it's still not that very useful. Sometimes some characters could probably even land before it. Like if I did this like super late, let me try getting that real quick. Yeah, like that. Like it's just like, I feel like that was a very like specific scenario, but it can happen, and that's why Magneton kind of sucks. Okay, now we talk about the Quag guy. Look at him. Look, he's so fun. He's like friend shaped. All right, so what Quagsire does is he shoots the Mud Bomb, and this does 20 damage both on hit and on block. It is a low, so you can jump it. You have counter armor, but unlike Magneton, it doesn't get powered up to my knowledge. I don't know what frame it comes out on exactly, but it's still kind of like, I think it depends on where they are. Like, the farther they are away, the longer it's going to take to hit the ground. So as you can see here, it kind of took long. And this one, I think, should be very quickly. Yes. So it's dependent on how far away they are, which also means that if you do it right in front of them, even though it's fast, it's probably going to be grab punishable. You can jump in between the hits, both on block and when you get hit. Also, it's not a true combo, and it's a hard time to actually like combo into it for stuff like that. Like I got a 3-hit combo there, but it's not really it's still kind of sus. I feel like certain characters can make it work, but for most of the part, it's very niche. It perhaps is better than Magneton of the duo, barely kinda, but it's just still funny that they put like 2 of the worst supports in the entire game. Like I'm not even joking, these 2 are probably worse than like literally every other support in the game together like this. I bet there was like some sort of like in development joke. I have no idea why they would like do something like this. What do you think, Cascoon? Do you think it's also a mistake? I do agree, just like my life, but it's just insane that they would think that. I mean, I know what they're intending. They want to like have a support that does a lot of damage on block like this. And that's a good idea, but it's just like in practice, it's just like not very useful. Magneton, in practice, they probably were trying to be like, oh, it's an anti-air support like Snivy or Rotom. Thing is that differentiates it from those 2 is that both of them can hit on the ground and have different uses. For Snivy, it can hit on the ground normally, and it pops them up in the air for a combo. It doesn't give debuffs, but it does pop them up for a combo. Certain times you can even do ground combos if they're like, it depends on the spacing, but like that's rare, but it's like kind of another niche thing that makes it useful for Snivy. For Rotom, it's basically I activate when you go into the air. So it will anti-air them as soon as they go into the air, whether they're already in it or they decide to jump when it happens. The thing is, this can also hit on the ground, and it also stuns them in the air, and while it doesn't stun them while on the ground, it still gives them all around a speed debuff, so that's useful. It's like if you gave this debuff. I feel like the speed debuff is a lot better than an attack down debuff, just because it makes it harder for characters to get it. And when your speed debuff for Magneton is only in field phase, where it's even rarer that you're going to hit it, then it's kind of lackluster. There's just better options for both of these supports. For Snivy and Rotom, for Magneton, you could use as an anti-air support or a debuff if you want to use Rotom. For Quagsire, for when it comes to chip, there's better options in stuff like Evaltol for certain characters, like Empoleon. He likes using that because I found that for him being very useful. But also Dragonite. Dragonite is a very, very good one. It's a lot slower, I think, for charging, but it's also a lot more consistent because they have to block the full thing, and it still does like 104 chip, if I recall. It does like a lot of chip, and you can do your other moves too. I know Braixen loves using Dragonite because there's a lot of shield break setups she can use with it, and I assume other characters could probably have some certain setups too with it. But thing is, like I mentioned multiple times over, these 2 are just slow. Hitboxes are weird because this is a straight up high, the other's a low. There's not like one of them being like a mid or whatever like the other supports would be. Well, you can counter the Quagsire one. I assume you could probably air counter the normal version of this. So it's not even like they're fully safe from like, even if they do or if they're not blocking. I guess for Quagsire, you could like guess like, oh, they're gonna jump obviously, but they could jump backwards too. They can jump forward. It's kind of a mix up there. I don't wait. How much end lag does Quagsire have? How fast can you do stuff out of it? I guess that's fairly fast, but it's still just not much hit stun for this. But I do want to talk about the uses of this, and I will start off with Magneton with this. So certain characters, I feel like it could be useful for certain characters. Certain characters who can combo into Magneton, and it means it can't really use the use of its enhanced mode very often, because honestly it just seems so hard to do. Like if it was like a mid or whatever, that would be very useful. Certain characters can get improved, or not improved, but like can make use out of this. I guess as an example, Sceptile, funnily enough, my own main, because I feel like in these videos I always talk about Sceptile because he's always very, very convenient with what I'm talking about. He could actually combo into Magneton in a variety of ways. The most notable one being Giga Drain. So this could probably be used in certain matchups where you'd probably land Giga Drain a lot. You could also do it off a counter attack, if I recall, after doing this. So yeah, you can do stuff like that. It does a good thing Magneton does do though is it does knock the opponent down, if I recall. So even from high up, it does air tech. So then you can just like, after doing this, you can go ahead and just charge forward and be like, hi, I set up my traps again. I missed that somehow. Okay, I'm very bad with Sceptile actually. Not too sure how it works on the wall though. Actually, let me test that out real quick. Doesn't do much damage in total, but like you mainly would do this for the debuffs. In field phase, Sceptile is also like one of the few characters that can make use of this because he pops them up with Bullet Seed. So you'd be like, oh, and it gives you a lot of time to react with it too. So you'd be like, oh, I saw that they are getting hit by like 11 hits or whatever. Like if you do this or whatever, and then you can see, oh, I landed that, and then you can combo into dual phase, a phase shift like that. So Sceptile is definitely probably one of the more useful characters that can use Magneton. Other characters that may be able to make use of Magneton when it comes to comboing, because everything else about Magneton kind of sus. So I don't want to really talk about characters who can make use of its other qualities, because that relies on your opponent and not so much yourself. I guess it really depends. What other characters pop up really quickly? Probably Chandelure could, but like I would not see it as worth it on Chandelure. Maybe, oh, if you hit Aurora Beam with Suicune, you probably could. Actually, might be super useful for that. And Weavile, Icicle Crash could probably make use of it, but I think the main draw about this is that there's better options for these characters. That's the biggest part about it. Sceptile may be the exception, because Sceptile makes it use of lots of supports, and could be used for a variety of different matchups. For these characters, it could be used for technically those same matchups as Sceptile would have, but it's just like, they would probably have just more consistent stuff in general, as Sceptile is more flexible than said characters, except for maybe Weavile, but I feel like Weavile would probably want something to abuse his quicker synergy gaining. There's probably better options for that. Probably other characters too, but I don't want to talk too much about it. I want to talk about Quagsire real quick and its uses. Gonna go to Braixen because it's like a similar situation to Dragonite, where she could do a lot of big girl damage, to quite put it, if she does land this. Funnily enough, I said Quagsire is probably the better of the two used normally, but when it comes to like specific scenarios for certain characters, like I mentioned for Magneton being good with Sceptile, I feel like Magneton might be better in that regard, which is just shows you how much of a how much of a cluster the support set is in actuality. I'm stumbling on my words because I'm actually kind of struggling. I'm just thinking on the fly, like how good are these like supports actually, even when used with good characters. Like these are top tier characters too, by the way. So I can only imagine what you would do on a lower tier character. Going into this though, you'd mostly, I'm gonna go into burst mode real quick, just because I'm always enhanced. You'd probably want to use Quagsire when you're fully enhanced. Honestly, Braix is probably the only character that can make use of Quagsire. The other ones probably could. I guess Sceptile could too if he sets up his traps as well. Trap-based characters might strike a deal with Quagsire and find their way at home with him. I'm just saying a lot of phrases together because I don't actually know what I'm talking about. But yes, when it comes to this though, you could probably do something like this. Another type of trap. I did not set them to blocking. So you could probably do something like this. So that was kind of a small string. I'm not too sure about how practical that is. And honestly, you'd probably want to use Dragonite. Dragonite would seem like the best replacement for Quagsire and like doing everything better, because what Braixen would do with him is Braixen's probably the best character for Quagsire, but also Dragonite on Braixen is just better Quagsire. So I guess that's also part of the reason why I said Magneton probably has an easier chance of finding characters to use him for than Braixen. I'm not too sure what you could do to like shield break it. If they were in the corner, you probably could easily. Yeah, sort of like that. And you can also just see how I spam my buttons when I'm in training mode. Or just playing in general. One other thing I actually forgot to mention that's kind of a downside for Quagsire, its tracking is not good at all. Like, you saw it was kind of working before, but like, you saw in the combo before, it kind of shot after Machamp in the corner. I think there's only like 3 distances. It doesn't actually aim for the character. So like when you're here, it'll like aim far away, kind of like that. But also in field phase, it's especially bad because it's just like, you saw what happened before where it was like at the tip like this. So you're just like, oh, okay, I just block it once and then jump out of it like super easily. It's kind of, yeah. I remember even one time, if I have the clip, I'll definitely show it right here. Quagsire literally aimed in dual phase out of the arena, so it was like in the background, and that should just tell you how consistent the support is.
Oh, you're dead.
What? Quagsire, what are you doing? Like, it just went past there. Why is it going past there? That makes no sense. You do a lot of shield damage and a lot of chip damage, but it's just not worth it. And Braixen's like the only character that can make use of it. Let me look at the cast just to make sure that's like true. Like I mentioned, I guess Sceptile could probably do it, but you'd mainly want to use Magneton would probably outclass Quagsire for Sceptile, honestly, which I find funny. Is there any character? Who else does a lot of chip damage? I guess, I mean, I know Empoleon does. I main him, but I'm still unsure about that because Empoleon already struggles with, like, anti-airing a bit. So when you could just jump the Quagsire, it probably wouldn't be useful on him. Blastoise is one of the best anti-airs, and he does do a lot of chip damage, but not really any sort of subs to, like, shield break or prevent them from, like, just countering. Oh, while we're here, I just thought of something. Let me show you guys a pretty fun combo you can do, or just a fun situation that you could do with this character, with this support set. It's honestly really funny. I say that like I'm like it's not actually gonna be funny. I'm just hoping people will find it funny just so they can laugh at. Man, I'm so sorry. I'm just like this, guys. I'm kind of quirky and weird. Why am I like this? So here's what you can do to make this like go in AJ/'s favor even more. So you'll be like, oh, I blocked it. Okay, what if I did this? Oh. Isn't that great? Isn't that a fantastic support to have? You could cancel your counter into another counter, and I find it absolutely hilarious. I'm landing 4 King Shield here. Doesn't do much damage, but it just shows you how this support is not good at all. And I've been saying that a lot, but man, these supports are really terrible. And I'm mostly just viewing this to be like, maybe share the knowledge of like, hey, if you could think of something for this for these support sets that could be really cool, fantastic. I don't know how practical it'll actually be, but it'd be fantastic if you could, because I honestly feel bad for them. Like, I'm not emotionally, I am feeling very bad for them. They are terrible. So like, all in all, don't use this support set. I'm just talking about it because no one ever talks about them besides like, oh, they're bad, but they never explain why they're bad. Because it just seems obvious, but like, if anyone's interested, they can always just see, oh yeah, these are actually terrible. Why would I ever pick them? Why are you showing me this video, Jukem, about talking about these terrible support sets? Well, yeah, because they're funny. That's all I really want to talk about for this video. Hope you guys all have a great day, and well, if you want to support me, subscribe and all that nonsense. I usually say jazz. Nonsense, though. It honestly feels like more nonsense, but yeah, see ya.